is all the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Domestic violence. We are breaking the silence with Jeremiah and Jada, two teens that I have grown to love very much. Miss Tasha is Jeremiah's mother.
Yes, that is my dude.
He's a good young man, So let's get started.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about self-love, talking about the times that we didn't love ourselves, the insecurities that led us into the situations that we found ourselves in, how we came out of it, and how we have grown to love ourselves. Do you love yourself today?
I do.
I do too. I do too. So let's delve into this. Domestic violence, domestic abuse. We are both survivors. Can you tell us, or what age did you first experience domestic abuse?
Well, that's a very good question because it actually started within my family first.
Wow.
And I was really young.
And so you say within your family, meaning seeing it in the home, or were you a victim of it as well then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to expound, or do you want to?
I will just say this. What I experienced, it was because the individual had maybe experienced it too.
In most cases.
And
that's what happened.
Yep. And they were acting out what they had been through. What they knew. Yep.
What they knew. Wow. Okay. So you experienced it in your family first.
Yeah.
Then you grew up. And let's talk about relationships. When did you experience domestic abuse in a relationship?
I experienced it as a teenager.
A teenager.
Yep.
How old were you?
I was 16. And I didn't even know that it was domestic abuse then. I had no idea. None whatsoever.
So when you say you didn't know it was domestic abuse, looking back now, what form was it?
Physical.
Physical.
Yep.
Okay. So is it because you had seen it or experienced it as a kid when you were growing up that you didn't know that hitting someone was physical abuse?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't connect it.
We're gonna come back to that when we're talking about the education part, because that's good. That's real good. You're not connecting the two. So in this teenage relationship, and we both are a member of LSO, and that's when we go in.
Yep.
And you've been doing a lot of it, going into the schools
Yep.
and talking to the teenagers about unhealthy relationships. So that's a great thing, because it does start at such an early age. How long did you stay in that relationship?
I didn't stay long. It was like I met him, talked to him, wanted to do what I wanted to do, and he apparently had something else on his mind. So it stopped from right there. It didn't go any further.
Okay. First time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we know abuse came afterwards because of Jeremiah's interview.
Yep.
So was the next relationship abusive as well?
Not until I got married.
Okay.
When I was 30.
Did you see the signs before marriage?
I saw a sign, but the connection still wasn't there. It wasn't there because I just thought it was a man getting angry and raising his voice. That's it.
So now you're 30. And you're saying the connection still wasn't there.
Yeah, still wasn't there.
So what is it that we're not being taught? What is it that's not being or wasn't being talked about that by the time you were 30 years old, you didn't recognize domestic abuse? And not just necessarily saying for you, but in general as a whole.
I believe it's just a blockage, and it could be the fear, because growing up, and I'm pretty sure you probably heard this statement, what goes on in the house stays in the house. Mm-hmm. And that statement alone, it screams fear and secrecy. So with that, I didn't connect it because it wasn't talked about. They didn't want to talk about it. And if they did talk about it, you would shoot away from it.
As a kid.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. So your marriage, what form was the first form then?
It was verbal.
Verbal.
Emotional.
Emotional. So would you say that verbal and emotional, in your opinion, are the first forms of abuse?
I would say that. It's not always physical, because when it becomes physical, it can lead up to it. It's subtle. Even with verbal abuse, it's very subtle.
Very, very subtle. And a lot of times it's as though the person is playing.
Yeah.
Oh, you get thick. Mm-hmm. Or you just don't know anything.
Yep.
You know, and you take it as, oh, he's just playing.
Laughing it off.
Laugh.
And that's a lot of that going on. You want to laugh it off. Yeah.
Laugh. So the verbal, then the emotional, because with the verbal, it emotionally beats you down.
Oh my God, yes.
And it tears down your self-esteem, your self-worth, your self-confidence.
Yep. To zero.
To zero.
Yep.
So talk about being torn down to zero. How did that feel?
Oh, it did not feel good at all, because for one, this didn't come later though. I realized that this individual, he had some emotional trauma too, because when you blurt out of your mouth that you hate black women and your wife is black, and he did not have a relationship with his mother, everything that he felt or did not feel growing up caused it to come out in the relationship, especially in our marriage.
So when we say don't ignore the signs, married to a black woman, says he hates black women, and not having a relationship with
his mother.
Yeah. For someone that's watching, and these are signs in front of them, are they to be ignored?
No, absolutely not. But I ignored them. I ignored them because I felt like it was too late. Oh, I'm married now. He said he loved the Lord.
Okay.
I'm a man of God.
That's a good gateway right there.
Yep.
I love the Lord, a man of God. But behind closed doors.
Something totally different.
Something totally
Dr.
different.
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
And then the thing about most abusers, they're great actors. Chameleons, and they're charismatic, bubbly personalities. Everyone likes them.
Everyone trusts them too.
And trust. So even, and I know on my instance, when I start telling, no one believes me. Or he could come back and say something, and his words carry so much more weight than what it was that I just said, that no one believed me.
Yep.
They believed him. They looked at me like I was a liar.
Yep.
Or it was my fault. I had done something.
Yep.
Wow. So how long did you stay in that relationship?
We were married for 11 years until the divorce happened.
Did you have kids at this time?
Yes. Jeremiah was still young at that time. My daughter, she was a teenager, but she had moved away from our home to go live with her dad because she felt something and she knew something, but she didn't know how to convey it to me. So she left.
So she was intuitive to her feelings.
Yeah. And I didn't want to listen no way. That's what she told me later on, years later.
That's good, because on a previous podcast, there was a person and her children experienced domestic abuse, and one of the kids were abused. And when you're saying they want to listen, so when you think kids go to their parents or go to their mothers and they say, okay, your boyfriend or my daddy or uncle, whomever it is or may be, is hitting me or touching me or raping me. And I know we can't speak for everyone.
Right.
But do you feel that deep inside, the person may know, or they don't want to listen because if they listen, they have to make a decision and they're not in a state or place to make a decision?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't want to face what she was telling me because I seen it in certain instances.
Yes.
Where she was acting out in school, and I know that both Jeremiah and her are not bad children. Of course, children do things, but when it was out of her character and she was talking back to him, I was like, wait a minute, something is wrong, but how do I address it? Because I still got in my mind from what I was taught growing up in a home when you're a PK kid, you know, a pastor's kid, and your foundation is Christianity. You stick into what you know. So I'm like, well, he's my husband. I have to honor that. I have to stay with him. You know, I have to do this and I have to do that. I have to say this. I have to be this way. And so in a sense, I was neglecting her and her feelings and what she felt, what God put on the inside of her to tell me, which allowed me just to be oblivious because I didn't want to make that decision.
And you know, I'm so ironic. On my way to Rock Hill today, I talked to someone, and she was saying the same thing about being married and how a lot of people associate being married, reading the Bible, that let no man put us under, you know, for better or for worse, and that we're supposed to stay.
Yep.
Regardless of what it is that we're going through. Or, baby, just pray about it.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be okay. Or, he's a good man. He's a good provider. He takes care of you, don't he? So what is it that you have to worry about? Why you want to leave? And we stay. Or, you know, women stay.
Yeah, they stay because of all of those reasons and more. I had one young lady. She was my friend. And she, of course, she didn't know because I didn't tell her. I was afraid to because she was one of those people that, okay, that's what he I'm going to knock him.
Right.
So you want to stay away from that. You already dealing with it at home, so why are you going to tell somebody that's going to result to something that you want to get away from? And so one day, I was visiting her at her apartment, and he cooked because he was raised by his grandmother. So he could cook well. He cooked, he fixed her a plate. She was like, girl, you better do something good to him tonight. He done fixed you this plate. And I'm thinking to myself, she have no idea. No idea. Yep.
Can't judge a book by its cover.
No.
Not always what it seems to be.
No. Those pages tell a different story.
They do. The more you flip, the more you flip.
Yep.
Each chapter gets more intense and more intense.
Yep.
Okay, so you walked away from that one.
It wasn't easy. Took me 7 times.
That was going to be my next question. And statistically, it says 7 to 10 times.
Yep.
7 times, and you went back.
Yep.
Anyway, went back.
Yep. Because of fear, insecurities, zero self-esteem. I felt like I could not live without him, like I needed to be with him. Now that I think about it, and boy, this is getting ready to come out. God is getting ready to start talking. I only stayed because I did not feel worthy of being by myself, with myself. I thought I had to be with a man. I thought, we love God. He said he loved God just like I do. So we can work this out. And you go back to somebody saying to you, well, pray about it. It'll be all right. Just keep following God. Okay, well, but I learned a lot in that. And once I realized and came to the conclusion that I could live without him, but I could not live without God, then I felt the strength coming the more I need. But I had to come to face with some things that I thought I needed. And I really didn't. I really didn't.
So can you remember, because I remember the last day that I walked away. I remember the last time I was abused and I didn't go back.
Yeah.
Can you remember?
Yeah. Ooh, like it was yesterday.
Right.
I went to the condo that we were staying in. I had some mail there that I needed to go get, and I went there to go get it. And he gave me my mail. He was nice. He was very nice. So when I was in the in the condo, just standing in the living room, all of a sudden I just got sleepy. Like I started yawning. I was like, "What in the world is going on here?" So when he seen me yawn, he said, "Well, you can go in the room and you can lay down and go to sleep." I said, "No, I'm not doing that. Thank you for my meal." Walked out the door, walked down the stairs. I got in my car. I said, "God, if you don't help me, I can't be helped." I crunk up the car, put it in drive, drove off. I said, "I'm not looking back. I'm not looking back." I said, "God," I was crying, like tears streaming down my face. I said, "God, if you don't give me the strength to walk away, then keep walking and not look back, it won't be done." That was the last time I seen him.
So have you seen him since
No,
then?
have not.
I haven't even 33, 35 years.
No, have not.
So how did you ensure yourself that you weren't going back? What measures and steps did you take for that person that has walked away from an abusive relationship? The text messages are coming through. The phone is ringing. You're getting lonely. You're getting weak. That touch, that kiss. "Ooh, baby, I love you. It's going to be okay."
Yeah.
What ensured you this time? What was it this time that ensured you that you weren't going back?
I felt God's power that day. I felt his power that day in the car because I realized that knowing that if I didn't do this, because I knew it was my flesh that wanted it.
Yes.
If I did not, that was my moment. That was my moment, and I had to take it. And when I did that, that was good because afterwards I said, "God, now it's you and I now," but I still wasn't there yet. I still was making decisions that was crazy.
Did you still love him when you walked away?
I did.
So look in the camera for that person that has walked away or is pondering, contemplating, walking away. But Miss Tasha, I still love him. I love him. I love him, Miss Tasha.
Well, that love doesn't go away easily. When you're standing at an altar and you're saying "I do" before God, and you go through challenges, you go through mountains, you go through valleys, you go through the worst times of your life, but when you come to a point where it is do or die, you will feel God's strength to give you that moment, that way of escape. And when he gives you that way of escape, that's your opportunity to know that it's time to go. But still, you got to remember that love is still there. It just doesn't go away easily. You have to work on yourself for it to happen.
And I remember someone telling me, "Baby, it's okay to love him, but you can love him from afar."
Yep.
And I'm like, I can.
Yeah.
It's okay to still love him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of people feel, I think a lot of women or victims feel that the love, like you said, is just supposed to stop.
Yeah.
But there's a process with that as well.
It is.
It's a grieving process with that as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you walked away. How long did you stay out of that relationship? How long were you single before you entered another relationship?
Miss Gail, you digging now. You digging. Oh my. I'm gonna be honest, and that's what I prayed before coming here. I said, "God, just help me to be honest and be bold and say what I need to say." I wasn't single long at all. Not long at all. About maybe 6 months.
6 months.
That's not enough time to get over somebody else and to get into something else. It's not giving God time to do what he needs to do in you. And I didn't do that.
And I know I write in my book, Through It All, that we take the baggage from the last relationship, and we carry it into the next. Pretty much like Erykah Badu when she says "bag lady."
Yep.
We bring all the self-esteem, all the low self-confidence, all the unworthiness, all the doubt, fear. We bring it all into the next relationship, and our bag just weighing us down. We still weighed down.
Yep. Weighed it down. Yep. It was a lot.
So you got into the next relationship. Was there abuse in that relationship?
Yes.
Did you see the signs this time?
Yes.
But you
Ignored it.
So what were the signs that you saw that told you this man or this could be a potential abusive relationship, and you ignored them, and why?
It was the same sign. Anger. Raising your voice. It was the same one. And what made me still want to go forward with it is what I felt on the inside of me, which that may sound crazy because I wasn't looking for him and he wasn't looking for me. But still in my mind, I was like, it's all right. It's nothing. It's going to be okay. Yep. I went ahead.
So what was that first form of abuse in that relationship? What was the first form of abuse?
Verbal.
Verbal again.
Yeah, verbal again. It seemed like it was a cycle, like it was a pattern that I missed intentionally, I guess, because I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to believe it. I'll say that.
I think that's good. I think to believe. Because I think for a lot of women or a lot of victims, we ignore it.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to believe it, because there's all these other great characteristics, these other great traits that they have.
Yeah.
And this time, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So we know walking in.
Yeah. I was hoping it would be different, but I walked into something that I wasn't ready for.
So is this the relationship that Jeremiah spoke of?
Yes.
So your son, because your daughter was still with her grandmother at the time.
No, her
with
dad.
her father. Yeah, with her father.
Yep.
So Jeremiah was there, and he witnessed the abuse, and he told the audience that he was abused as well. So as a mother, seeing this, did you ever intervene?
I have, yeah.
And what happened?
It escalated. Yep. I even took a couple of steps to be removed from the home, the individual. But still, again, that love that you have for a person. It's hard to let go of that. Especially this time my belief system was different.
What was different about it?
I had to work my way up to that, and what was different about it is what I allowed God to do in me. I had to face the ugly of Tasha.
It's okay. It's okay, and I don't have any tissue.
I had to face the ugly of Tasha, and that didn't look pretty. I had to look at my son and know that verbally, he was being abused. Because he, my husband, had went through a lot in his life. I don't know all of it. And so it comes out in anger. And so to see your son take up for you, thank you, and almost go into a place where he's withdrawn.
He was about what age at this time?
He was 15.
Yeah, a teenager.
Yeah.
And at this time, finding himself, getting to know who he is as a young man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as a mother witnessing, which you said that you witnessed, I guess the question would be, excuse me, I have to cut that part, Mars, hold on. As a parent witnessing what you said that your son witnessed, what separates husband's love or spousal love from a mother's love? And how do you decide which one carries the most weight, if that's the right question? Or how do you decide which side that you're going to lean towards? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Is that a fair question?
That is a fair question. This go round, I would say, somebody else might say, well, I don't think you're wiser if you're going through the same thing, but in a different relationship. But I know what it looked like when I was in the first one versus this one. So I handled it differently. Yes, he's my husband. Yes, Jeremiah is my son. But that was a moment where the situation depended on how I responded.
Good.
Oh Lord, I mean, if I can say it in a way where somebody would see it from the Spirit, where I know when my husband was wrong, and I had to correct him. And then Jeremiah's sin, and I give Jeremiah that leeway, that freedom to share and say what he needs to say with respect. But he's honest. And that's what I love about Jeremiah. And he has brought it to my face so many times. So now, mother has to speak. Wife is nowhere in it.
Wow. That's powerful. Forgiveness. Have you asked your son for forgiveness?
Yes.
And knowing the young man that he is, and he told us.
Yes.
Wow.
He actually, my husband and I we were in the room looking at TV. Just, this was a good time, good moment. We hear a knock on the door. It's Jeremiah. He said, can I talk to both of you? He said, I need to ask y'all to forgive me. And I'm looking at him like, what? He said, because I have not been a good son. He said, I know we've been through a lot. He said, but I have been mean to you, Mom, and I have been mean to him. I've been acting out. He said, I know that's not how God wants me to be, but I didn't know how to process it. He said, but I need y'all to know that I'm sorry. Only God could have done that. Only God. For a young man to come to his parents' room and ask us to forgive him for his behavior because of something that he went through from my husband and from me because how I did not respond correctly at the moment.
Where do you think the wisdom, and I know God, I know God. And I remember him saying that he went to one of his friend's house, and that was his refuge. And he wanted to emulate his friend's father because his father was a good family man. And he looked up to this man. Being 16, 17, was it, and I mean, I don't know if you know, but where did the epiphany, where did something so profound, how was something so profound able to come out of a kid's mouth that was actually the victim? It had every right to behave and act the way that he did. And it was understandable.
Mm-hmm. It was the best answer I can give you, Miss Gail, is God.
God. Isn't he awesome?
Yeah.
And so with that, was that the mending? Was that the uphill of your relationship?
Yeah. That moment, it brought my husband and Jeremiah closer than that I know I couldn't have done. I couldn't have done it. Yes, I've prayed. Yes, I fasted. Yes, I laid before God. Yes, I told my husband, I said, you are the only one that has had me to pray as much and as hard as I've had to pray since I've been married to you. But I believe along the way, God was also doing something in Jeremiah.
It's obvious.
The way he came here is a whole nother story.
Wow. Ooh, ooh. So we're going to talk about self-love. Because you said in this relationship something was different. Mm-hmm. You were a different Tasha.
Yeah.
How important is it? And you can answer this question if you choose, and I know the audience may want to know. Are you still in the relationship with your husband?
I am.
You're still in the relationship with your husband, okay. How are things, when you say it was different, and we're talking about self-love, how does one begin to love themselves? What does that look like, or what did it look like for you?
It looked like acceptance.
Acceptance.
I had to accept myself. Mm-hmm. I had to embrace myself. Mm-hmm. I had to embrace my flaws and all of the ugly. I had to embrace all of that. When I did that, and you are, just right here, all of it, shown before God. Nothing you cannot hide. I had to see that. I keep going back to facing it. In the previous, I didn't want to face it. But I learned something that I carried on with this marriage that I practice every day.
What's that?
1 Peter 3:9. Do not give insult for insult or evil for evil. I'm paraphrasing. Mm-hmm. That you are a blessing because you want to inherit a blessing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You be good to them. Mm-hmm. You speak kind to them. And a soft answer turns away wrath. So once I realized that and learned that, and the love that I have, it's only because God put it there.
Did you ever go through a period that you weren't able to look at yourself in the mirror?
Ooh, yes. The first one and this one.
Me too. And that's a bad feeling.
Oh, it is.
To walk past a mirror and don't even just glimpse at yourself.
Oh.
Because you just feel so ugly. Not what you're seeing on the outside, but all the ugliness that's going on in the inside.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that, Miss Gail. I looked in the mirror in the previous relationship. I didn't even turn the light on. But I'm in the bathroom, and I know I am. I know I'm looking in the mirror, but the light is off, the darkness. Mm-hmm. So finally, when I turned the light on, when I turned it on, my face was distorted.
Wow.
It's like God allowed me to see the spiritual ugliness of me. And I hurry up and turned the light back off.
Didn't like what you said?
I didn't like it.
It was frightening,
It
right?
was. It scared me.
Yeah.
And I ran out of the bathroom. Yep.
So when we talk about self-love, we have to, most of us experience insecurities.
Yeah.
How powerful are insecurities?
So powerful that insecurities can hold you by the neck. Almost to the point where it's choking you.
Taking you under.
Yeah.
Losing everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bad decisions.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
So what would you say to a woman that's in an abusive relationship now? And she wants out, but she doesn't feel that she's strong enough. She doesn't feel that she's worthy enough. She doesn't feel that she's capable of taking care of herself. Or she just doesn't want to be alone. Don't want to be by herself. Those are the things you said, right?
Yep.
So what would you say to her?
Journal your way out of it.
Good way. Yes. Great. Journal your way out. Because we're going in now and talk about some of the things that you're doing now. And you're doing some great things.
Thank you.
So journal your way out. Tell the audience about your new journal and what it is that you're doing now.
God gave me a journal. I never would thought to have a journal, to even have my own, create one. And it's called No Longer Silent, The Naked Truth. It's a workbook and journal because you're going to have to do some work. You're going to have to journal your way out of what you're in. I mean, journal. No time for perfection. Just process and progress. And you're going to have to pray your way out of it. You're going to stay in God's face. And that's what I had to do. And that journal was created actually from a tragedy that I witnessed in October of last year. A young man that I didn't know, he ended his life in the parking lot behind my car where I live at. But earlier that day, God spoke to me, and he spoke those 3 words to me, no longer silent. And I didn't know what it meant. But when I seen that tragedy, I reflected, and God reminded me, you too wanted to end your life when you were going through domestic violence. You have been silent for too long. So I journaled my way out of it.
So no longer silent. So many women are suffering in pain.
Ooh.
So many women are suffering in silence.
Yep.
Suffering. So, would you say a good way to get your voice back is through journaling?
That's how I reclaimed my voice. I did. It helped. And it helped. It put a stamp on it when we took the class together.
Yeah. I think that just helped everybody, like, okay,
Yep.
it's time.
Mm-hmm. It did. It put a stamp on it. And that's really when my healing started in July of 2024.
Wow.
So I've been silent for over 10 years.
No longer silent. Because you have, I mean, I've seen what you do. I see what you're doing. Tell them about, tell the audience about the sewing, you making pajamas.
Yes. Now, that's a funny story, I will say. When I was in high school, I skipped class, home ec class. I didn't want to learn how to sew. I was like, what am I going to do with this? Well, God brought it back full circle. Because my experience with DV and knowing what I've been through and knowing that I've had to sleep in my clothes in case something was about to jump off. I had to sleep in my clothes. So
Ready to get up and go.
I had to be ready to get up and go. And so a lot of young women, they don't have pajamas. That's simple, but it's something that's needed. It's something that's needed. So the Sew for Strength is a program under No Longer Silent, the movement, where we give back hand sewn, not bought, but hand sewn pajamas, so they can know that when they put these on, that they feel God.
Do you pray over them?
Absolutely.
Yes.
God done already gave me the scripture.
Yes.
When they lie down, their sleep will be sweet, and they will have hope, and they will feel that peace. They won't feel like they got to, jump because they feel like something coming down on them.
Covered.
They covered.
Wow.
Every stitch.
That's awesome. That's awesome. This has been so great. We're going to close. It's two things. I want you to tell the audience how to find you on your social media platforms,
Okay.
and how to purchase your journal and to donate to your organization.
Yes. So you can find me on Facebook as Tasha TCknows. You can find me on YouTube at Tasha Tanks, on Instagram as TC_inspires, and on TikTok, No Longer Silent, and then I also have TC Inspires. You can purchase the workbook and journal, No Longer Silent, The Naked Truth, on my Stand store. And you don't have an excuse because it's 99 cents. God wants you to have this. He wants you to journal your way out of whatever you're going through. If you need to reclaim your voice, heal from emotional wounds, and discover your purpose, journaling is the way to do it. That's just my opinion. But that's where you can find me. That's how you can be a part. And as far as the movement, the sweatshirt, donating, by purchasing a sweatshirt, they're $35. And part of that proceeds will go to buying materials to hand sew pajamas for the DV survivors.
Good. Great work. So this is the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Tell the audience 3 things that has helped you to survive.
Prayer, praise, and worship.
Say it one more time.
Prayer, praise, and worship.
Prayer, praise, and worship. Thank you so much, Tasha. I have really enjoyed this. And I am going to plug myself. I just released my first book, Through It All. And I just wanted to thank everyone. For all of the overwhelming support that you have shown me by purchasing Through It All. And if you haven't gotten your copy yet, you can contact me through Messenger. You can go to Gail Estella on Facebook, Gail Estella Speaks on Instagram, and Gail Estella 1 on Instagram. And do yourself a favor. If you know anyone that's suffering with insecurities, going through domestic violence, abuse, or grief, read this book. This book is going to help you to Find your voice. Find a way to love yourself enough to come out and to know that through it all, that you can still stand. Thank you, everyone, and happy Love Month.